developmental policy analysis and government networking. So we have our in the studio this morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, presenters. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, the whole world, because COVID-19 is about the whole world.
It is about the whole world. All right. Okay, Joshua, go
ahead. Interesting times, actually. And of course, we're still going to look at, perhaps down the line in the course of the show, we're going to look at how Nigeria can get out of this. Especially economically, considering your wealth of experience in development strategy. But let's look at the health sector. Obviously, this coronavirus has opened us to the inadequacies in that sector.
Yeah.
What was your take on it?
Well, it's an exposure. There is an adage that says, as you lay your bed, so you lie on it. And I'm so happy that the consequence of coronavirus is an impact felt by everybody, despite your class. Nigeria has neglected the health sector for a very long time. The health sector has been a sector that has been plagued by several factors. The first one is the neglect by government itself, or let me say the neglect by society. Nigeria has taken the health sector and their health. Everybody has taken their health for granted. And that is why when people have money to do a project for the society, many will prefer to build a school or something because we think we'll be fine or we believe in something. So like in a few years ago, all the African leaders, they agreed that 15% of the national budget will go into health. That is the minimum. For more than 2 decades, Nigeria have not achieved up to 5%. It's always been around 4%. So if the target is 15% minimum, and the budgets that we are spending, both capital and recurrent, is just 4%, then we shouldn't expect a miracle. And that is why you see the health indicators in Nigeria is one of the worst in the world. For example, Nigeria is one of the worst places to deliver a baby. 20% of maternal death all over the world happens in Nigeria. So if you go to the labor ward and you bring out your baby, you are just fortunate because the infrastructure in place in Nigeria is not supporting your safe delivery. When you talk about malaria, as common as malaria is, statistics show that over 300,000 people die of malaria annually in Nigeria. It's because the infrastructures are insufficient. And unfortunately, because we have options, especially the elite and the governance class. Everybody that has the money can just, at least if you cannot go to the UK or US, you fly to India. So we always feel that it is the poor people that it will affect instead of the society. I don't want to use the word government now because society, government is a subsector of the society. Right. Tomorrow I can find myself in governance. If I believe in the health sector and I find myself in government, I will not change my mind. So it's a problem of the society. We just believe that if I am fine, it's okay. You know, that is when you leave government, that is the other problem. Another problem is the imperial role that the World Bank and IMF has been playing in Nigerian economy. Okay. It's really, really unfortunate that we don't see that this organization, they are representing the interests of the West. You know, until I've written a lot of research papers that have been published on why we should look at the hidden agenda of the World Bank. In 1985, the Structural Adjustment Program was launched in all poor countries, and it is not something. It's not an option, but an obligation if you need loan. And we'll still talk about loan.
Right.
You know, it's important. Let me just make this point. The structural adjustment recommended that pharmaceutical production is not necessary and is not feasible in countries like Nigeria. That we should depend on importation because we don't have comparative advantage in production. Such a selfish, unfair recommendation because our government also obliged, and since the 80s we have played down on production of healthcare materials. We depend on importation, and we also depend on importation of ideas because we are not doing any research in that area.
Yeah, let me quickly hold your thoughts on that, Dr. Ayibiowu, and let's come to at the moment, you've raised, a germane point as to the fact that we are not looking inwards as a people.
Yeah.
So let's look at how we can domesticate treatment for our problems. Now, let's look at the issue of COVID-19. We know that as it is no respect of any person. So people can't even travel to other parts of the country to seek treatment for COVID-19 because they are also grappling with their own issues. So at the moment, what are some of those things that you think we should begin to do as a people so that we do not suffer too much neglect than we have suffered enough?
The first thing we need is a reorientation, sincerely. That is the solution not only to COVID-19, but to all African problems. We need to recover our self-identity that we are important, and that wisdom is not in the color of the skin, but in the brain. Every time the whites say something is impossible, every sector fold their hand. For the mere fact that America and UK say that there is no vaccine and that for now there is no cure, should we not fold our hands? Can't we believe that somebody can be wrong in his opinion? For the mere fact that America said there is no cure, does that mean we should not go into research and look for opportunities? If I don't believe in myself, that my environment and my reality is totally different from the West, then I will keep that. I will always believe that the problem is universal and the solution is universal. For example, they are dying in thousands and in Italy and US. Can't that speak to us that something is wrong about their approach? I don't want to know what is wrong in their approach, but it also means I can't follow it. If they are doing a particular thing and people are dying in thousands, it means I should go back to my drawing board and say, look, we are not following this. Can we meet together all the people in the health sector? Because it's an health sector problem and it has to be solved by the health sector. Let the professor stand up.
Okay.
Please.
But do you think that we really have the capacity in Nigeria?
This capacity, for example, I wrote an article last week in Punch suggesting some research findings I think I stumbled on. I researched it, I believe in it, and I brought it as an opinion.
Okay.
And I'm not a doctor. So we are the doctors. Nobody funded me. Nobody paid me. But I just feel I'm a mother, I'm a PhD holder, I have done a lot of research on anything you can mention about. So why am I at the risk of death and I will not do something about it?
Okay.
So when you talk about capacity, you are a professor, you are a doctor, you spend 7 years, that is a capacity.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about some of the, because virtually everyone is talking about AIDS and all that. International organizations are coming together. I know you have actually expressed some reservations about all these international organizations. Now we are getting so much funding from private sector and government in order to. The government has said, look, we are not using some of this money we've gotten for palliatives. We're using it to fund infrastructure, especially the health sector. What's the ideal situation, considering that? Considering we don't have enough cash and government is getting aids in order to help develop the sector, what's the ideal situation?
I'm sorry to say this. When fire is burning and you're just rushing, let's pour this, you may even escalate the fire. The first thing we need is to analyze the situation and analyze the opportunities that we have. So that when we are asking for money, we want to know what we want to use it for. The problem in the health sector cannot be solved in one day. And pumping money into it cannot solve it in one day. The first thing we need now is how do we prevent people from getting infected? When we can lay hand on that in the absence of vaccine. Because let's say we don't even have capacity for vaccine, which I don't believe. Okay. Everything that exists in large scale, there could be a miniature of it if we believe in ourselves. Uganda just developed a test kit that cost just roughly $1. When I was reading about that research, it didn't start because of coronavirus. They were developing it because there are other coronaviruses that we had outbreak. Right. And somebody took that challenge. Ebola is not in my country yet, but can I start researching? And I think, I'm sorry to say this on here, we need to begin to reappraise our academics on why salaries should be paid. Because if I work as an academician and I earn salaries, what is my key performance indicators? I've been in different parts of the world. I had my PhD in South Africa, and I know that lecturing is just less than 20% of your job. So somebody has been working on a test kit for Ebola, and when coronavirus broke, it's just a matter of adapting. Can somebody just come out among these 200 million people that this is what I've been working on, that we can adapt? So let me just use it to that question, that when we need money now we are getting money. We don't, some of those money I will have preferred that we wait a bit.
Before assessing them, because we should, what do we want to use it for? Like they've designed some homemade ventilators. The cost of each one of them is over $1 million. Should we pour money to ventilators that may not even save the person that wants to use it? Or we should invest in preventive measures that will not even make people not to need that ventilators, which may be cheaper. For example, a ventilator will cost $1 million, and a test kit that is homemade in Africa by an African will cost less than $1. If we have less than $1 test kit, for example, this 600 testing we are doing every day, we are just killing ourselves. I'm so afraid of this country. Okay, now let's take a look at, you've preferred homegrown solutions to some of the problems that we are having at the moment. But then, as a country, do you think that we're ready to take that challenge? Because do we really believe that we ourselves have that capacity? You mentioned earlier that we always adapt Western solutions to some of the issues that we are facing. But as a people ourselves, do you think Nigerians are ready to try those homegrown solutions?
The greatest damage colonization have done to Nigeria is the westernization of our mentality. And until we are reoriented to believe in ourselves, to believe that we are complete individuals and that we have a reality that is different from the West, and that we have a solution that could be from our reality, we will continue to be slaves of the white man. I know science is said to be universal, but the white man will never go and investigate a plant that does not grow in his vineyard. I was reading about Madagascar, about the COVID herb that they were talking about. You know, I salute Madagascar president. I really, really throw my salute to him this morning, because what he did was to use the herbs that exist. Artemisia or something. I'm not a pharmacist. They are the largest grower of this of the plant. And then some researchers have done some private research, and they believe it can be helpful. And he sponsored the research. It's not that it came out that one old man or one prophet said we should use it. It is based on research. The only thing is that it didn't come from the conventional sphere of research. Listen to me, the issue of ethic and unethical. Ethical and unethical. We kill millions of people before we achieve the standard of ethical. You see, some people were challenging my write-up that I presented. They said some of the authors I quote are unpublished articles because they are not peer-reviewed. We are in a pandemic and people are dying every day. Somebody comes across a discovery and peer review will take the next 6 months. Are you saying we should not refer to it? That guy, that is what he did. He did a fast-track research and he said, this thing is likely to help. And it is herb. It may not really have side effect. And then he started dispensing it. Now they condemn it. This is the beautiful part. He ignored the condemnation. Recently, a research firm in Germany, Denmark, and America, They went to research this plant which he was using, and they have found out that that plant is potent.
They are willing to pump money into it.
A virus that look like COVID-19. And because it is potent against that virus that look like COVID-19, it's an indicator that if we do further research, maybe it will work. It means they've not been able to prove him wrong, even though they've not been able to prove him right.
So it's 50-50.
Yeah, so is it better not to try something than to just
fold your hands?
Fold your hands. So I am challenging the whole country. It's, you know, I'm so surprised that we're not, for me, I'm sorry, we're not doing anything. If somebody say lemon works, lemon at hot water works, don't just say don't do it, it's unethical. What I expect is that you are the professor of medicine, go and test it for us, do clinical trials, and you'll be able to come to us and say, look, lemon does not work.
Okay.
Then we will say, according to Professor ABC, who did this thing, research lemon that all the mothers are using does not work, so that all the mothers don't waste their time.
Okay, let's come to the economic part of it. One thing is that has happened is that there's a downturn in the economy of globally.
Yeah.
And of course, Nigeria is not immune, of course. Lagos, the commercial capital, actually had to take a pause in order to attend to coronavirus.
Yeah.
What's the best way moving forward to address the issue of jump-starting our economy? I'm sure that's your forte. How do we get the economy going?
Sincerely, the challenge is we are still in the battle. We don't even know where we are going. So economic recovery for me now is still about health recovery. I think all attention for now should be on the health sector to push them to do something, sincerely, because whether we like it or not, we dare not have what happened in Spain, in Italy, or what's the Ecuador. So that is the first thing. The second thing is that coronavirus has opened our eyes. I told you the damage of Eurocentrism, thinking that West is that it closes our understanding to alternative. We can't think out of the box. Suddenly there are alternative way of raising funds which we do not use before. Some of the loans we are taking for COVID-19, I have done some research that I've published on alternative way of raising funds for the economy. I bet you we need people, I'm sorry, I don't want to say we need people like me. You need policymakers who are reoriented to believe that there is a solution in-house. Right. If not, you will now begin to look at the template that United States wants to use to recover its economy. We are all informal sector. Let me tell you, the informal sector have always been striving. Whether you call it economy downturn, it's not downturn anywhere. During this lockdown, I saw a woman that is selling things, the early part of lockdown that nobody could move. And I said, please, madam, how did you, because I didn't come out from my house for at least 5 days. Then after about 8 days, I said, let me have a walk. I've added so much weight. And then say, how did you get this good? She said, between 12 midnight and 5 a.m., there is market. I said, where? He said, in this Lagos. He said, they go in the 12 midnight and they finish that market 5 a.m. and then they come and sell in their house. That is the way informal sector have been surviving. But with the formal sector, we don't want to look at what is working. So I believe we need to come together and bring people that are reoriented. People who believe in alternative. People who believe that when we look keenly, we look at what is working, it may be in a small circle, and then we now scale it up. Okay. That is especially when it comes to fund. Now the crude oil price has crumbled
greatly.
And then the first thing the government did was to go to IMF. And now they have awarded to us 3-point-something billion loan, which my children's children will pay. Now, why did we run to IMF? Because all-level economists teach us that government raise own money only from 3 sources. From taxes, from loan, and from maybe rent something. Because economics of European economy, Mills, or tell me all the fathers of economics, told me that government raise money from taxes and loans. Does that mean that is the only alternative? I did a study on the governance administration of Yoruba Kingdom in the pre-colonial era. And one of the things I checked is, how does governance in the traditional system, how are they financed? Because in the Yoruba system, taxes were not paid.
Okay.
They only subjects, those who that are maybe they've conquered a land or something. That they bring Ishakole. So I had to look at it that they don't take taxes and they don't take loan. And I discovered there are alternatives of raising funds to finance governance, which Eurocentrism closed our eyes. Do you know the white man want the whole world to be the servant, a slave to him? Imperialism. China and America today are enemies. Why? Because China is taking the world power. IMF rushed to give us the loan because US is trying to take Africa from the hand of China. Because China has taken over, giving us loans that does not have conditionality.
Right. Now, let's go back to the issue of the health sector. You've challenged the health sector. You've challenged professors. You've challenged researchers to come up and find homegrown solutions to the issue we are having, not only on COVID, but generally. But then another issue would be the issue of finances. How can this be surmounted?
Yeah, I just mentioned it. There are alternatives to raising funds.
No, I'm not talking about government now. I'm talking about researchers.
Researchers. I just told you I did the research. Nobody financed me. I see lack of passion in our system. Lack of passion. Study says that 90% of doctors, student doctors, want to relocate abroad after graduation. Another study says that even the current middle-level staffs that are working in government, 80% of them have done their professional exams that will enable them to go and work abroad. If those are the kind of people, I'm very sorry, doctors. I want my children too to be doctors. I'm a doctor too. If the kind of people that are servicing our health sector are half-minded, you will expect little result. Because you have a mindset that the facilities are not available, the encouragement are not there, because there's no passion. There is no passion. The political class have killed our passion by when your ambition is only to be the governor and nothing more. When your ambition is just to be the commissioner, nothing more. As soon as you assume that seat, you have arrived and you don't have any other thing. But if you have a vision that I want this thing eradicated, I want this thing cleared, as soon as you assume that position, then you begin to run. If my motive, and it goes to parenting, I need to say this because it's about society. It goes to parenting. We need to know what are we teaching our children. I want you to be an engineer so that you can buy a car and take me abroad. Or I want you to be a doctor so that you can eradicate malaria. If you have been training your children that way, they will be research inclined. Okay. And within the capacity, the study I did, the first thing I told myself is this: Nigeria don't have budget for research. But there are existing research we could be helpful. And then I started searching. Then I stumbled on Edgar 2015 that he did a study on povidone iodine. And the use of povidone iodine hand wash and mouthwash and nasal spray was used against earlier coronavirus that sprang in 2012. And it reduced the virus by 99.99%. I became excited. I started searching every possible. That is the spirit of research. I spent money, I spent time, but I cannot compare it to the money that Edgar and others spent. I want us to begin to do little researches. Like I just mentioned povidone iodine. I want it to read it in the news that the health sector has started doing some trials on
Here
it.
and there, okay.
Here and there. So within the capacity that we have, 15 billion has been allocated to COVID management in Nigeria. That is a lot of money.
And you expect that researchers should actually take
yeah.
place within
And then
that.
number 2 is that we need people who can give government innovative ideas about financing these things.
Okay.
Listen to me. There are some things that are cultural to us. That if I can locate that aspect of you, you will vomit money and you'll be smiling.
Okay, that would be where we would leave this conversation this morning. Dr. Oyindamola Adejumo-Ayibiowu, thank you so much for coming on the show. I need to add this final one. She's the daughter of late comedian Moses Olaiya. Baba Salah. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's
Joshua.
a privilege.
Well, there you go. That's it. Interesting times. Some of us were actually drawn to the whole conversation, even though we're the one interviewing. But I guess we're going to bring her back to the studio. Perhaps let's have a different view as to how to go about making Nigeria a better place. Well, COVID-19 is real, so wash your hands regularly. Use an alcohol-based sanitizer to make sure that you, in case you can't wash your hands, you use it with you, and of course have your face masks on when you go out. That's stay home and stay safe. If you don't have nothing to do outside, stay at home. Coronavirus is very real. That's it about for Morning Delight today. Many thanks for watching. I am Joshua Muraki.
Thank you so much for watching the show today. God willing, tomorrow the crew will be back here with another interesting edition as from 9 a.m. tomorrow. Ensure you keep safe. Good morning.